heart to you. Freedom becoming true. Nobody else like you. Do what you promised to. And I'm so grateful for your love. And all my eyes have seen the wonders of your mystery received. I've tasted what it means. Now nothing else is good enough for me. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need. Oh, I need you. Yeah, I need you. Oh, I need you now. Now I owe it all to you, giving my heart to you. Freedom becoming true. Nobody else like you. Do what you promised to, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for your love. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I need you in my life.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? We are live on a special Tuesday night. Synchronicity is a real thing. We got the live debate happening between former President Trump and current Vice President Kamala Harris happening right about 20 minutes away over the bridge in Philadelphia, real close to where we are right now. So we're gonna definitely watch that live with you guys, give commentary, and talk about some stuff. But we got other things going on too that we can hit before that starts. That'll be happening around 9 p.m. So we'll try to jump over there and catch what's going on with that debate. It should be interesting. But if you're here, hit that like button, share the video. You are watching Young Lion TV.
Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, won't you get up and start fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding. Young lion.
Yeah. Young Lion TV, like we do it every Tuesday night. Thank you for being here. Guys, we appreciate every one of you. Shout out to our family that I see jumping in the chat already. I see our sis Courtney over there. Make sure you guys hit that like button and share the video with your friends, because the algorithm does not help us out at all. So we need your help to get us going here and help with what we do, because our conversations do get a little spicy. And we're streaming live on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitter, we're on Twitch, we're on Facebook, and besides Rumble and Twitter, the other platforms, they don't take kindly to that. You can ask Candace Owens about how she feels about that. She's been suspended from YouTube. But we're live in the Lion's Den like we do every Tuesday night. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Young Lion TV podcast, where we are a group of friends, brothers. This is my brother-in-law with me over here too. We're sons, we're fathers, we're husbands, and we've been through some things in our years on this earth. All of us are in our early 40s right now, and we've seen a lot of things. We've been in a lot of places in the world, and we like to talk about the experiences that we've had and things that we've we've kind of woken up to along the way. A lot of the spells that we were under as young men, just growing up in this country, growing up in the 80s and 90s, and a lot of things that we took for granted, realizing we were indoctrinated into. And we talk about those things on this podcast. And of course, all framed in our belief in Jesus Christ and getting deeper in those beliefs and faiths as we got older and as we became fathers, and understanding how that helps community and build your family properly, so that we don't see a lot of the degeneracy that's going on in the world today take over. So if that's something that you can get down with, make sure you guys support what we do. Like I said, the easiest way to do that is hit the like button and share this video. If you want to support that even more, we do have a Patreon that you can go and get down with. It's patreon.com/YoungLionTV, where you can go and become a member over there and, support what we do. Shout out to all of our Patreon members. We have some members that have been supporting for years and years, and we appreciate each and every one of you. And all of the different tiers you can sign up for. We do have some Lion King level members jumping in the chat. Appreciate y'all for always showing love. Shout out to Jeff. And yeah, also, if you want to get the merch, we have on our website, our band's website, which is jantan.com/shop. You can go ahead and get the merch, get different t-shirts, hoodies, rep the Young Lion, the pride of the Young Lions there. And, it's all cool stuff. And yeah, man, with me this evening, we have the coolest Asian in the world. He's rocking the Young Lion camo hat and the t-shirt, with the Young Lion towel behind him, and the Young Lion backpack right behind you, behind your head there, along the wall. It's behind you on the wall. But he is the coolest Asian in the podcast world. You won't see another one cooler. I don't care if it's Sneeko or whoever. He ain't as cool as Mo. I think ain't he Asian?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's Asian.
I don't know if I'm the coolest, but
definitely Is there a cooler Asian, James? Not at all. He's Mr. Simone
cooler
Chang.
Than a polar bear's toenail.
Technically, James is Asian too.
He is. But that's part of his intro. Don't step on his intro, because he is the most confusing man in the podcast world, because he is the half Asian, the half black, Spanish last name, Trinidadian, but it looks like a regular black guy in the States. He is Mr. James Garcia in the building.
He's not a regular black guy, though.
He's not a regular black. He is definitely not a regular black.
He doesn't like candy yams.
I'm sure he's heard
Sweet
that.
baked beans.
How many white guys have you heard that from? You're not a regular black.
A lot.
What kind of black are you?
First of all, you like yacht rock.
You like yacht rock?
I don't even know what
you
yacht
like
rock
Billy Ocean.
I don't know about like.
You love it.
Obsessed.
Wait, hold on. Are you listening to Brazilian jazz right now, sir? What kind of black guy is this? But also, we got holding down on the production tip. She is the best producer in the podcast world, and we love her because she produced me.
What was that eye about? What was that eye about?
No, I just remember what he said earlier.
What did I say?
I'm always doing that. Okay. But anyway.
Oh, she's holding on to
She's
hurts.
holding the grudge.
She's holding on to hurts.
Because she started the stream.
And I'm wearing the Grateful.
She's wearing the Grateful merch with the nice blue color.
Buy one. They're beautiful.
Thank you, Mom. She is Miss Angelique Lopez, and she's our mother. And I am the light-skinned, racially ambiguous guy with a beard that you always think looks like one of your cousins or family members or some celebrity with a beard that may be white or, racially ambiguous. Navigating these waters that we float on while we stream live, I am Jamie Evans.
So silly. The intros.
And shout out to Jake, who is not here right now. He has taken care of the kids. He's at home. I know he's probably going to be tuning in, hopefully watching this debate. And also the Black Batman, who we're still waiting to make his return. The Dark Knight Rises at some point. Stan Golden will be back at some point. We're waiting on you. But shout out to everybody in the chat. If you're watching right now, make sure you drop a comment in the chat. Let us know you're there so we can be watching the chat. And if you want to chime in and say hello or just chime in on the conversation, talk about what's going on in the debate, jump in there.
Chime in on debate night.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk to us.
Yeah. But yeah, so any predictions for the debate tonight, guys? Any thing you're expecting to see?
I don't know.
I don't know what to expect.
I don't know what to expect because there's like I feel like there's parameters that they placed. You know, they're probably not gonna let them. They're probably gonna do the mic cutting off thing.
Yeah. Which Kamala was against.
She was against.
She was trying to push to not have the muted mics. And I think that's because she wanted to, like, people are speculating that she wanted to have that, like, remember when she debated Mike Pence and she had the I'm speaking moment?
Yeah.
She wanted to be able to do that.
She's like, but I'm ready to sass him.
Yeah, exactly. So they were saying, because her campaign came out and said that she's feeling handcuffed by the parameters that Joe Biden set up because she wanted to be able to do a sit-down debate with notes and not have muted mics. Like, sit-down debate, bro, come on. With notes. But you know, me and Mom were speculating earlier that you ain't gonna be able to tell if when a woman debates. That's the problem. Like, you can't tell if there's an earpiece in their ear because they just can have their hair over it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, they should televise the searching
Yeah.
of the candidates.
Yeah, they should do like a metal detector to make sure.
A woman should search
Yeah.
Kamala,
Right.
and the man should search Trump for any earpiece or any of that.
Yeah.
that it should be like how a boxing match is. You know how like
They check their gloves.
I'm telling you, they check the gloves.
Boxing political 101.
Because they're not going to check her but even that could be fixed because whoever this is done by ABC who is biased. Someone showed like the coverage.
It's Disney.
The coverage meter for Kamala compared to Trump, and Kamala has been 100% positive. Like, when have you ever seen that from? Even CNN is not 100% positive.
Right.
ABC has been 100% positive for Kamala and 93% negative for Trump.
Right.
So, this is gonna. So, like, what would stop them from, faking a metal detector situation?
Yeah.
So,
That's why I don't know.
That's why
There's ways.
yeah.
Jamie and I were saying there is no way that she can debate Trump the way she speaks and everything. They have to put something in that ear.
Well, I know they're already up to some tactics here. Yeah. If you pull this up, Mom, right here, like people are pointing out, this is the pre-debate. Like they're showing the stand there, and it looks like ABC Look how they made her a smaller podium. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
They purposely custom built her a smaller podium.
Why?
Because when you get those tight shots, she's not going to look like one of the things that optics are everything for people. So when you see her, who is a tiny woman, standing next to Trump, who is a tall,
6'3",
physically opposing man next to her, so they're going to use little illusions to make them kind of seem similar when you show them on camera.
They want to make it look presidential.
Right, exactly. So they're not going to, because if you remember from the Biden debate, they really didn't show any wide shots. It was mostly those two side-by-sides, right? So that's what they're going to do. But if you show a side-by-side and the podium's like up to her neck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because remember Bloomberg, he tried to get like a platform to stand on, so he looked taller. Yeah. So these are tactics that people like. DeSantis with the heels,
platform heels.
Yeah,
like I was just about to mention that
with the heels. Yeah,
you beat me to it.
I mean, I think they're gonna tell her like obviously turn down the giggling and the sarcastic and
try not to giggle.
And probably while he's talking, write.
Yeah,
to look more.
I don't think you're allowed to write. You're not allowed to take notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to Hansberger.
Shout out to Hansi.
Are you soup for this debate? You were souped last night?
No, he wasn't souped. He was extremely cynical last night about this debate.
He's so tired of old people telling us what to do.
And the whole time I'm like looking at Moan like, why would you bring this up in the middle of rehearsal when you know he got stuff to get done? And he's like, isn't the debate tomorrow?
A prime example of me just saying whatever that's on my mind.
Yeah,
he's trolling.
No. I just say whatever's on my mind.
Yeah, he's really just wanted to know what people thought about the debate being tomorrow.
Debate.
And was the bridge closed for you when you did you have to go a different way home last night?
It was tonight. It took me like, because I come from Philly. It took me like over an hour and a half to get home. I think there was just congestion because of all that's going on. I guess it was bad.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna be like late.
Wow. But last night when you left rehearsal.
Oh yeah, that bridge was shut off. That's what you were talking about.
Yeah. They closed the whole Ben Franklin Bridge.
Was closed. We had to go to. I went on 95.
Yeah, me too.
To Walt
Whitman. Yeah, that's where we had to go. Yeah.
I wonder why it was closed though.
Yeah, because we're rehearsing over at Philly now because we're doing construction at the office.
Oh yeah.
So we're rehearsing at the spot in Philly, and man, I was like, and I didn't even put two and two together at first. I'm like, why would they close the bridge?
Right.
And then I was like, oh yeah, the debate. Yeah.
That's when Secret Service is doing their job.
Because she's gonna be there.
Yeah.
So you guys know how they always they do these bakers who do the two candidate cookies during elections. Remember they did it last time. They always do it in like these towns, these bellwether towns or whatever. So someone in Philly did that. A baker did a Trump and a Kamala cookie. Who do you guys think sold more cookies?
Trump, of course. No,
You really think so? In Philly? In Philly, bro?
In Philly.
Philadelphia
Yeah.
baker selling debate cookies. What do you guys think? What are your predictions?
Well, you already gave the answer.
I think Trump.
I think Trump.
You think Trump?
There's a lot of Trump supporters, man.
Yeah. Well, listen. Apparently,
people voting for Trump.
4,228 Trump cookies and only 369 Kamala Harris cookies.
right.
Wow, see?
I mean, maybe people just wanted to, take a bite out of Trump. You never.
Nah,
maybe
yo.
that's what it was.
Nah.
Not like-
Where we rehearse actually is right downtown where the Gallery Mall is, where City Winery
Yeah,
is.
a block away
There's-
from City Winery.
We park in the parking lot, and there's like on top of this building. I don't know what building it is. It's across from the I think it one of the news stations. There's like how they have the advertisement on top of the building. This
Giant
huge
Trump 2024.
giant Trump 2024
Yeah.
in the middle of Philadelphia.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting.
4,000 to 228.
Yeah, 4,228 Trump cookies to 369. Who knows what that means?
Right.
Maybe Trump voters are just the fat ones.
Right. There's probably a lot of people who secretly wouldn't, buying a cookie.
Yeah.
It's not outing them, but
Right.
in real life, they be like, no, don't let that guy.
Yeah. I think there is a lot of that, like people that would vote for him but can't publicly say it.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in like Philly,
Well, I mean, aside from politics and which team you're on,
Yeah.
if you're just an objective person and you're looking at his presidency versus this presidency, and you can't see the difference in terms of the economy,
Yeah.
Inflation, wars, if
Mm-hmm.
you can't see that, aside from a couple of tweets that the media pumped up to be salacious or whatever it
Yeah.
is, you just don't want to see. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because if you just compare them based on that, there's no comparison.
Right.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tariffs who chimed in on Facebook, said, "Hey
Tariffs.
family." She's a Facebook subscriber actually. Shout out to Tariffs who's always coming in with the support. Let me see what else we got here. We can waste some time. How much time we got left until this debate starts?
What time is start? 9?
9 p.m.
We got
About
22
22
minutes.
minutes? Okay. Let's see. Oh, I saw, this was going viral. This could be kind of damning. People are saying like, someone dug this up today and it was going viral on X. Pull this up, Mom. Oh, let me make sure we got it. Could be kind of damning.
So far, and almost
People are
everyone
saying
she's
like,
interrupted by
where
protesters
someone
who
dug this
make
up
their voices
today
heard on that they will
and it
be
was going
listening
viral
closely.
on
Very
X.
strong voting block there too, Rachel.
Yeah, they're going to be listening to that message. All right, so coming up, Senator Tom Cotton and Governor Josh
Turn this
Shapiro are
audio
standing
off.
by with just about 20 minutes until the debate. Stay with us.
Ooh, right here. Here we
Diddy,
go.
Diddler.
He's a rogue, all right, notorious for his flamboyant lifestyle. Flashy clothes, fancy parties, fine women,
Oh,
You heard what she asked?
I'm not. Are
She-
you
Are you his daughter? I'm not. Who was that?
That was the mayor, right?
That was Willie Brown and
Yeah,
Kamala.
yeah.
This is a story they were doing on Willie Brown.
And fast cars.
Fine women.
Look at her standing right there.
If ever
Look
a
at that
man
laugh, the
and a
same laugh.
municipality were made for each other, it is this man.
Yeah, they dug up an old. I think this was on ABC too. Let me
Is that
see.
her dancing?
No, that's someone else. That's some other white lady. Yeah, this is an unearthed ABC profile of San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown in 1995.
Right.
Is that Mrs. Brown?
No. But yeah, that's a young Kamala there. Are you his
Yeah.
daughter? No, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
Look at him in his little sports car there.
What are you
Old
to him?
player.
What were you to him?
Yeah.
But to me, that's a shame on, because we, especially in today's world, we love to blame current times
Mm-hmm.
and say people today. But everybody knew he was married.
Yeah.
And no one asked him or interviewed him like, who are all these young, beautiful women you're hanging around?
Right.
Where's your wife?
Yeah.
We still voted an immoral man who was openly cheating on his wife
As the mayor.
So I mean, yeah, you can refer back to those footage of her, but she wasn't married. He
Yeah,
was.
right.
And we okayed that by whether we voted for him or we didn't question him enough because he was emboldened to do this stuff. There's plenty of footage
He has her on live TV.
he had with him.
Yeah.
So it's like this is the kind of man with very low morals because, like I said, she wasn't married and she wasn't running for office. So you can't hold her responsible for his inadequacies.
Hey, they
You know what I mean?
say the same thing about Donald Trump.
What?
Immoral.
Yeah, I mean, I've never said he was immoral. I would never co-sign that.
Yeah.
He's definitely not one.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't be in denial about his
Past.
shortcomings.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would never defend that. But I'm just saying that it's a more reflection on who we, because this is 1995. You said he was known as an adulterer. You never see footage of his wife.
Yeah.
Really.
Yep.
He was always around beautiful women, but we okayed that kind of behavior, which leads to what?
Kamala Harris being vice president and now running for president.
Yeah.
So you see, Willie Brown, that's
that's your fault.
Your fault.
She was making 50,000 as his assistant or something like that
Yeah.
at one time.
Yeah.
No one looked into this at
Right.
that time.
And she had no
experience.
experience in that field
Right.
at all.
What do
Yeah.
you mean? She went to Howard University. She got a degree at Howard University.
Which that means
I
she's
don't
black. I did see this other video where they outed her on CBS about busing people into her rallies. Check this out real quick.
Well, behind me, hundreds of invited Harris supporters are leaving and boarding shuttle buses. This was a departure for Kamala Harris, leaving toss-up states to come to New Hampshire. Well, behind me, hundreds of invited Harris supporters are leaving and boarding shuttle buses. This was a departure for Kamala Harris.
Yep. Invited. And then someone pointed this out too. All of these buses coming into one of her rallies.
That campaign money, guys.
Yep.
Everybody get $145. What was it?
It was like $145, $150. Somebody that we know told me that his cousin is one of them people that goes on like Craigslist and stuff and looks for those ads. And he said he's been to like the BLM protests, these anti-Israel protests, the rallies, the Kamala Harris rallies. He gets paid every time he goes.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much?
It's like $150, $175. Yeah.
It's nothing.
And then you get food and stuff like that.
Yeah, but if you have a life and you have a job, man, that's plenty. You know what I mean?
If that's all you do,
Give me a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
Give me a couple $1,000.
And they probably get a hotel room.
yeah. But to just show up and he was like, he said that they told him like, I don't even be knowing what I'm there for. Like I just
You just go.
just told to go. Like
I believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, when we saw it during the riots, that there were just random people walking around that didn't that the people from the community said they're not from here.
Yeah.
You know, but they show up. No one asked these questions before because I think, like we always talked about, the age of social media now, where a person can switch on live, and essentially they can show what's actually happened versus a news media, a corporation that can say, hey, you're only allowed to show this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's really why social media is so important now, because you can have a direct connection. I could go down to any place and I can switch on live and I can show actual footage.
Yep.
When we depended on the news on a network, that could be chopped up and sent around
And spun
and edited in a certain
Remember
way.
when we saw all those news outlets like faking those protests where they would just gather a couple, like 5 people with a sign and then crowd them in one space and make it look like a bunch of people showed up.
Yeah.
And then people with cell phone footage were calling them out.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that we were saying.
Sure.
Shout out to Denver. Uncle Denny's in the building.
Hey.
We're going to watch this debate in a little bit. What was I about to show? This woman in Chicago was going viral because they started putting up these flyers around in black neighborhoods talking about how black people are being racist or something like that. I'll play the video so we can see.
As you know, the flyer about black people hating on immigrants was distributed in Hyde Park. Because of that, we took the matter to City Hall.
They hung this in our community. We want it off the polls. We want that to be the beginning of a hate crime.
And we brought it before City Hall for it to be considered a hate crime. What happened as of Thursday is Alderman Ron Mosley has started the investigation into the matter, and that is 4 different ways that a hate crime can be processed. Of the 4, 3 of that flyer being in this facility for the intent of provocation and an issue of vandalism because they were taped all over the poles of Hyde Park and other areas of the city. That will begin the justification for a hate crime bill. This morning, Doris Lewis made an official police report because the police report is the first step to the hate crime. So effective tomorrow, we will be back in City Hall, and that will be the violent part of a hate crime. We are also working on a non-violent hate crime. That is dealing with the fact that black people's property is being taken at enormous rates in the city, and that even when you take the matter to court, the unjustified and the unruly and the lawlessness of the court system that ultimately violates a litigants, especially if they're in pro se, their constitutional rights of due process and their civil rights of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So this is where it is in terms of a non-violent hate crime and the flyer being considered a violent hate crime.
So, we've been seeing what's going on in Chicago with all the migrants. People are fed up and they're over there voicing their opinion. And then somehow a bunch of flyers get put up in Hyde Park saying that black people are hating on immigrants.
Right.
Who do you think is funding that? And what do you think they're trying to stoke there?
Well, they basically want them to shut up because there has been a lot of black residents who are very angry at the Democratic Party because they voted for them.
Yep.
And they said, listen here, you're displacing us for non-Americans. We got to stop saying migrants and immigrants. They're illegal. They're illegal. Yeah. They're not American citizens.
They're here illegally. They're here illegally.
So they've slowly changed the word. So during the last 2 years especially, we went from undocumented
They went from illegal immigrants,
illegal to undocumented, right?
Right. To migrants, to
asylum seekers,
right?
Which none of these countries are at war,
right? Yeah.
So that's what you'd be seeking asylum for. What? Religious persecution, right? If there was a personal threat, right, or tyrannical government
oppression, those type of things,
right?
Yeah.
So we have to ask ourselves who has spread that narrative? The media has, and the black residents there. Or just residents.
And who's the media's paid by?
Who the media is paid by?
Yeah.
By corporations, by lobbyists. They
Pfizer.
Yeah. they get in. They're all this corporation that runs this thing know how to spin this narrative. And they know that if they can show someone yelling at the town councilling, they put no context to it. It looks like this person just hates, because they could spin it like this person hates the migrants or the immigrants, right? Versus when you go really listen to these people's concerns, a lot of them were schools were being shut down to house migrants. No one is saying, hey, wait, what are we going to do with our
resources
kids?
that could go to black communities are being used to, fund housing for migrants, give them monthly payment.
But imagine being a parent that had to work and your kid is out of school because your school is being used to house migrants.
Yeah.
And no explanation was given to you. Nothing was told them, but this is an indefinite thing.
And these people were sent there. These people were didn't walk to Chicago.
Right. Yeah. So you're telling me you can't, as a citizen, as a taxpayer, you can't ask questions. You're racist for asking questions.
Yeah. That's the narrative.
You're not allowed to be angry.
So that's what
or hurt.
We see. Yeah.
Like you pay taxes.
And I think that's part of it too. A big reason is that black people feel betrayed because they were sold on this lie about supporting about the wall being racist. They were sold on these lies by the Democratic Party as a way to say, like, if you support this, then it somehow it affects you.
And you're xenophobic.
That's what I'm saying. No,
language.
Like you being for migrants is being for you somehow. Like they're sold on
it. I think they're just kind of like when you're so tied and tethered to a party, sometimes even though they're saying something ridiculous, you're kind of forced to go.
No, but that term, black and brown people.
Black and brown. They made you feel.
They weren't saying that though.
They made you feel like
the Democrats. The media.
There's it's a whole narrative, dude. Like we talk about all the time, the oppressor, and the oppressed.
It's Marxism.
They make you feel like you're on the same team, and they're oppressed, and you should
support them.
You should support them. You should feel for them.
And I think and they specifically the people in these communities that are being affected weren't the ones saying it, but those elite blacks that are on cable news that are the Joy Reids and the Don Lemons and the gatekeepers, they were telling them, those black and brown people are being affected.
They don't live in those neighborhoods. So
exactly.
They're good.
Exactly.
I don't live there.
It doesn't affect them.
My kid's not being displaced.
So that's why the point that you were making is that this is the feeling of betrayal that they're starting to.
I don't think they were ever with it. I think you said like language, the way language is shaped via the media can sometimes give the impression that they're co-signing this, but they're not. Because even in the beginning, before this really took off, there was still a lot of people that went down and were upset that when it initially started happening, because this happened in New York first, right, with Eric Adams.
Eric Adams,
right, when he got to the point where he was asking citizens to house.
Well, first it happened in Martha's Vineyard, and we remember what happened there.
The busing,
They sent them away quickly and swiftly.
Could you imagine a mayor asking its people to house undocumented people you don't know?
Right. The mayor of, what was that, Boston?
That's your
Massachusetts?
big plan?
The governor of Massachusetts came out and told people to do that too, right?
That's your big plan, and no one can ask any questions because you're being xenophobic or racist because your big plan is, hey, anybody got extra room?
Yeah, but if you're like, say, a black woman her age, right? Because we know a lot, right? That grew up, the boomer generation, they grew up through civil rights. They know how racism has been weaponized. You know, you got your Al Sharptons, your Jesse Jacksons, all these people that are always fear-mongering about racism, about going back to Jim Crow. So if they can weaponize a character like Donald Trump and when he says rhetoric like, you know, because I've heard a lot of people in that generation cape for the narrative that, oh, he's racist because he wants to build a wall. So if you've made that argument yourself and now you see how it's affecting your community, there is a sense of like, hold up. Like they lied to us. Like they duped me. They made me feel like I needed to argue their case.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure there's buyer's remorse here.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
You know,
so what happens when people have buyer's remorse? They're going to get out there. So now they're becoming the enemy because they're voicing their grievances now.
You're supposed to go along with it.
Yes. You're not supposed to complain.
Right.
You know, you're supposed to just go along. And you got, like we said, people on the news. So J.D. Vance was on one of these news outlets with one of their black journalists. I think, isn't this the one that came at Trump on the stage? Let's play this clip real quick, Mom.
President Biden passed a series of executive actions, and illegal border crossings are now at their lowest levels in about 5 years. So much so that Greg Abbott is no longer busing people to other cities.
Did you hear what she just said? Like, why do they, when they ask questions to Trump or J.D. Vance, they always have to frame it in a way where they're making the argument first and then asking you the question, and now you're on the defense. Border crossings are at an all-time low?
Oh my God.
How could you even say that?
That's so ridiculous.
Let's play that again, because that is just crazy.
President Biden passed a series of executive actions, and illegal border crossings are now at their lowest levels in about 5 years. So much so that Greg Abbott is no longer busing people to other cities. But let me
have to get that out.
This is a fundamental question.
Please.
I have to say that before I ask this question.
Right.
Before I ask this question, which is what I should have just asked from the beginning.
Families be separated under your mass deportation.
And again, I do want to answer.
And then another bad framing, because that's the whole narrative of Trump separating families and concentration camps. We remember that whole narrative.
Yep.
And black people were bought into that.
Yep.
They were bought
That's
into
what
that.
I'm saying. Victim.
Yeah.
Victim.
Please.
Families be separated under your mass deportation.
And again, I do want to answer this question about families and about deportations, but you made this point that border crossings are lower. Border crossings at the southern border are lower because the Harris administration is sending more immigrants through the ports of entry. So instead of coming through the southern border, they're now being flown at taxpayer expense to the ports of entry all over our country. The number of illegal crossings, they're not any lower. They're just shuffling how the people are coming into the country in the first place. And this is very important.
They're able to
about
process them more
deportations.
efficiently, but
they're not being processed. They're being flown in with our money.
It's not
But
setting
I
them to
don't,
other
Kristen,
states.
I don't
But
want a
just-
border czar
just-
who makes it more efficient for illegal immigrants to come into this
to
country.
this
That's why we
question-
have the problem that we have.
See, this is why, like, Kamala can't do what he does.
Right.
She can't do what he does. Like, he's going on doing interviews, hostile interviews all the time.
Yeah,
and
she's
he's
not gonna
able
do that.
to she. This is why they're protecting her, not letting her do interviews, because
The one interview that she did,
it was all softballs.
Softball question. One question she didn't like. Next.
Yeah, but that's the key. She's not doing interviews. How the heck is she gonna do a debate?
Right.
Well, we about to see.
We gonna see.
And
We
to
gonna
me,
learn today.
What you're watching here is when you have journalists that they're obviously bought in and they're obviously paid for. They're paid shills. You know, she's she's asking a question, but she's setting it up more for the audience out there who they don't have faith in what's going on, but they just want to remind them that something is being done.
Yeah.
Even though it's how many millions of people have crossed, we want to let you know it's under control now.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you get this under control from the beginning?
Right.
It's
You know what I mean?
tactic. Will the question, the big
Will
will families be separated?
under your mass deportation.
Right. See, so
Playing the heartstrings of
Real
America.
families. Yeah,
You
she's
know?
framing it a certain
Of
way.
women mostly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's be
Liberal.
let's be
There's no
honest.
yes,
Liberal.
that's true.
Let's be honest.
Women.
Because women are the ones that
They'll feel sorry.
that are affected by
Right,
those
right,
type of things.
Right,
Yeah.
right. They'll feel sorry.
You break the law.
And beta men.
You break the law. All right. If I'm driving, right, and I'm driving, I was on drugs or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Not saying I do drugs. I'm driving and my son, is in the back seat. I get pulled over. I get a DUI, right? What's the cop gonna do?
He's gonna separate you from your son. Yeah.
You broke
the law.
You broke the law.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be handled in a certain way. Like that, those are the consequences of your actions.
Yeah, there's no accountability.
You come into a country with small children, which is already an irresponsible thing to do. There's going to be consequences to your actions. Like,
and that's the way the media is framing the questions.
Yeah,
you know, if to me, here's the thing: if the media was unbiased, these questions would be asked of both parties.
Yeah,
but one person is being asked with the presumption of, hey, this is taken care of. What do you have to say now? But it should have been taken care of from the beginning.
Right.
This should have never happened.
Yep.
We're here for why is this happening? Why do we have to answer, or why do you even have to frame a question where you say families are going to be separated? Why?
Yeah.
Why are families going to have to be separated?
Right.
How did that happen?
Right. Why were border crossings so high to begin with?
Why? How did these people get in here?
They were at an all-time low under Trump, and then skyrocketed under Biden.
Yes.
And I like how he framed it, that the Harris administration.
Yeah. Yep.
That was a political move right there.
Shout out to Eric and Brennan.
Shout out,
good
y'all.
evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So talking about the border, I saw this video going viral of a guy who went down there and was just interviewing people coming across, asking them where they're going. Just simple video. It was going viral.
This.
You saw this?
I think I saw this.
Pull this up, Mom.
Yeah. Where are you from? Where are you going? Thank you. You?
India.
Where are you going?
Oregon.
Thank you. You?
India.
Where are you going?
New York.
Thank you.
India.
Where are you going? Thank you.
India.
Where are you going?
California.
Thank you. You?
India. California.
Thank you. You?
America.
Thank you.
America.
California.
You? Where are you going?
Indianapolis.
Okay.
Indianapolis.
Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Michigan. Where are you from? ¿Dónde vienes?
She don't speak Spanish, bro.
Where are you going? Where are you from? Guinea. Where are you going, sir?
I'm going to New York.
Thank you, sir. You?
Thank you.
Where are you going?
Thank you.
Where are you going?
Thank you.
What state are you going to?
Yo, all these people?
And you?
Yeah. This is normal.
Are you going to New York? Where
Totally normal.
You?
And we have
You? Louisville. You? New York.
Yo,
you?
it keeps going. This is a 5-minute video, bro.
New York?
This goes on.
Somebody's doing this.
Somebody's funding these people.
Someone is funding
this. Look.
You
I'm
can't
just
ask no questions. You can't ask no questions.
And they're all from different places.
Yeah.
And you know what's sad about it is they're getting ready to push this whole monkeypox thing. They're getting ready to push this whole vaccination thing.
Yep.
And here are all these people who we've just spent the last 4 years demonizing the vaccinated, unvaccinated, the war on American citizen.
Yep.
And now you open a border and you're talking about separation of family.
Yep.
And you have people coming here. Not a one of them has any vaccination or immunization card. Not a one.
Did you see any children with them?
Right?
I didn't see one small child.
So that's
I watched a lot of that video. There was like a kid that looked like he was like 13.
But not small children. They're framing it as small children.
Yeah.
Separation of families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so you want to tell me that the border is at an all-time low?
Right.
Like, get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
They lie all the time.
Yeah, of course they
How
do.
would it, like, talking about this immigration thing, the thing that's happening in Ohio.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of that? Haitians.
We were talking about that earlier.
20,000 Haitians in
dropped off
Springfield.
in Springfield, Ohio.
Yeah.
So there was a dude that was talking to his officials. I have that video. I'll play that real quick because he was complaining about what's been happening around there.
I do YouTube. I think it's like kind of odd that like a guy like me has to come out from doing what I do on a daily basis to have fun because I see what's going on in these streets and I see you guys just sitting up there in them comfy chairs and suits and I'm getting out here every day and I'm broadcasting this and you guys are just sitting up there in suits. Like I really challenge you guys to get out here and do something. These Haitians are running into trash cans, they're running into buildings, they're running into they flipping cars in the middle of the street. And I don't know how like y'all can be comfortable with this. Like I don't know like who's getting paid from this. I honestly feel like someone's getting paid from it in the background. You got a bunch of people on a bus getting dropped off at a gas station to come down here. I know a single mom that FaceTimed me this morning at the welfare office that really need something. And it's nothing but immigrants over there. And I don't even want to like seem like I'm coming down on the immigrants because it's the people that's bringing them down here. Because wherever they're at, that's what they're used to, bro.
Don't you see the narrative still being like black people are hating on immigrants?
Yeah.
They're in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck and cutting their head off and walking off with them and eating them. Like, y'all get the Highway State Patrol down here every week.
That's the part that went viral right there.
Yeah. And then y'all get like a task force for the Highway State Patrol, and they look for guns and they look for dope and this and that and the fourth. That same people that y'all got riding up and down Limestone doing U-turns, pulling people over for blinkers and pulling people over for like going left to center and like a couple miles over. Like, y'all can take them same people, the Highway State Patrol, and you can take them in every single one of their silver Chargers and Dodge Durangos, and y'all can take them to Sunset, and y'all can park them right over there, and y'all can teach people how to drive. Since the Highway State Patrol know so much about traffic laws and know what to do in traffic, they need to. Y'all pay them. They can go over there and teach these Haitians how to drive, because it's getting bro. I'm getting thousands of views on these, and it's going to get bigger and it's only going to get worse. And y'all sitting up there in these chairs, all y'all need to get out here and do something. Y'all making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Y'all need to put on a t-shirt and some Crocs, and then y'all need to come out here in these streets, and y'all need to go out here and I'm out here before the police is. Like, y'all need to do something, bro. Y'all really got to stand on business. Y'all getting paid all this money just to wear a suit and sit in a chair. I think it's crazy, bro. We got to do something, bro. It's kids out here getting hurt. Like, only reason I even went on here and said something about it is because somebody told me they walking from the school and a Haitian almost ran into them. And who is getting paid? Like, how much money is y'all really getting paid? Like, to bring them over here? Like,
how are they getting vehicles?
Yeah.
How are they getting licenses?
I saw another vehicle of a dude, a young guy, talking about he bought 2 cars and his insurance went up like $150 a month per each car. So it's like another car payment a month, and there's nothing he can do about it. Like, he has good driving record, but just because he lives in Springfield in that area and all that stuff has been happening, it's affecting him.
Wow.
He nailed it, though. Somebody's getting paid.
Yeah.
This is not by chance. This is not. If you think this is happening by chance, oh my God, man.
Yeah. This picture went viral along with it.
What?
So people are saying, like, you don't know where this picture is from, but they're claiming that this is a Haitian guy in Springfield carrying a duck.
I mean, but think about it. Like, even that, like, this could be fake. Someone kept a guy with a duck picture. This will come in handy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep this. Come on now.
Yeah,
Stop
I know.
it. You know it's true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because obviously these people, they're poor. We don't know what they're being
And
told.
they come from a culture where duck is food.
Right. Yeah. And they're hungry.
They're hungry. They've been dropped off somewhere. They have no resources. Well, they do have. If they can get cars, they're getting resources from somewhere.
I feel sorry for the ducks.
I do like some duck though.
But at least they're not taking over buildings.
Yeah.
Not yet, at least.
Right. So did you guys hear about
cats though?
Okay, this is what I was about to get to. Did you guys hear about the cats? Because the story is that they're eating ducks and cats. He only mentioned ducks. You heard that, right?
Yeah.
So the cats thing is a little bit more tricky. I think that kind of got swept up into the internet ethos, and that came from this news story, this body cam footage from this police officer. I'll show that to you guys real quick because it is kind of crazy.
Can I just say this before you do that?
Yes, go ahead.
I think this, right? I think the way how social media stuff work, I think just as much as we're trying to expose the hypocrisy, that's really what we do.
Yeah.
Is the hypocrisy of the left and the right, mostly the left.
Yeah.
There are people who, anytime this comes, they know how bad this looks.
Mhm.
They flood the internet with anything ridiculous.
Fake stuff.
To make it look just
so
goofy.
that they can just say, like, see how misinformation gets
This
sent.
is goofy.
Yeah, right.
That's really what they're doing. There's always a counterbalance.
Right.
Because they know that, like I said, who's a picture with a black guy with some geese? I'm like, yeah, 2024, this is going to come in handy.
Oh, the debate's on. Let's pull it up.
And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected to
Something that he's denied multiple
I
times.
believe very strongly that the American people
You just
want
lied.
a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
It's facts.
We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy.
He's already made
Wharton
the economy
School has
better
said
once.
is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession.
Oh, these same
You just
experts
have
that
to look
made us print all
at
this
where
money
we
that you
are
guys.
and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China.
Why would he ask
and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president
He
ever.
frames it as if
China was
that's a
paying us
guaranteed thing.
hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires,
She didn't answer nothing
on
about the
relationships
tariffs.
with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do
They were hammering
to
these
support
points in for her,
America's
boy.
workforce, so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the
Now you're going
origins
to
of
talk
COVID.
What? President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's got if she ever got elected, she'd change
She even
it.
thought this funny.
And
Look.
it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsey?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next
You see how
day,
every
you
question they ask him is framed with this long setup to like,
not her.
Yeah.
Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response.
Yeah.
So, as
Did she
I said,
correct
you're gonna
any
hear
of
a
her?
bunch of lies,
Any
and
of?
that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term,
they set her.
suffering from a miscarriage,
They
being
teed her
denied
up for this.
care
Boy.
in an emergency room because the
For these
healthcare
moments.
providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest.
He just said
being forced
exceptions
to
for
carry
those
a
people. Didn't he
pregnancy
say
to term?
exceptions
They
for
don't
all of those
want
things?
And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national
said he
abortion,
has
a
nothing to do
monitor
with-
that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages.
Are they going to correct her and say that President Trump has nothing to do?
In particular, the freedom
Yeah.
to make decisions about one's own body should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well,
to
I
your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, 2 things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's
He's not
abortion
answering the
bans.
question.
Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it.
She is writing down,
I have been a leader
You're
on
right.
fertilization.
Oh, who was saying
IVF.
that, James? Yeah,
and the other
she's
thing,
over there taking notes.
You should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's the problem.
question?
Because under
Look, she won't answer. Get her, Trump.
You could do
Get her.
abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump,
That's fact.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central
Let's see
America.
if he sets this up
we know
with
that
a
illegal
long
border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly.
Yeah, he's framing
my
it
question
for
to you
her.
tonight is why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has
Courtney says she's
prosecuted
playing off
transnational
emotions.
criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working
It was
there
also
right now
sending
overtime,
$100 million
trying do
to
their job.
Ukraine.
It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into
More
the
money
United
to Ukraine
States.
than the border.
I know there are
Yeah.
so many families watching
1,500
tonight
border
who've been
agents.
personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And
The guy who was trying to build a wall didn't want to fix a problem?
where the people
Come on,
of our
man.
country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the
called some
former
people.
president
The border-
is
She
someone
knows
who
that?
would prefer to
Does
run
she
on
know
a
that?
problem instead of fixing
This
a problem.
is crazy.
And I'll tell you something. He's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not
They
hear
don't
him talk
come to
about
your
is
rallies.
you.
You
I will
busting
not
them
hear him
in.
talk about your needs,
You getting
your
homeless
dreams,
people
and your
paid.
and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them.
Exactly what I said. Go ahead, Trump.
Showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics.
In fact,
That's
someone
because
tried to
people
shoot me
wanna
at one of
take
them.
their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats.
He shouldn't have went there. He shouldn't have went. That was a mistake. I think that was a fake story that they put out to get him.
In our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio,
see?
and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from television.
But the people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten.
They fact check him. They don't say nothing.
They don't fact check her.
Again,
but that's why he shouldn't have never brought that up.
Yeah,
That's why that was a misstep.
Respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain.
Those are people Democrats hate. Why are you bragging about being endorsed by people that Democrats look at as evil? That's crazy.
Really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
You're not addressing. You're not addressing the issues.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people whose were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job,
he's on the defensive the whole
take a
time
guy like Esper,
because
he was
they're
no good,
framing
I
it
fired
where
him.
she
So he
gets
writes a
to
book. Another
be
one
on the
writes a book.
offensive.
Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can.
Yeah.
But
this is what was to be expected with ABC.
And they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president, in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal.
Here we go.
That the vice president has reacted
They're
to
framing
as well.
everything with him
President
on the
Trump,
defensive.
You called this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S.
With local
military.
police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah. It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow.
The whole time.
And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get
She's
votes.
got a little
But it's
checklist.
not
If he
worth
says
it
this, then you go
because
here. If
they're
he says
destroying
this,
the fabric
she's
of
got
our country
notes.
by what they've done.
She's clearly got
There's
notes.
never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world. Crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse me,
President
the
Harris,
FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
Every time. They're fact-checking him every time.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted.
Look, she had that
for
ready. Teed up.
National security crimes, economic crimes,
Yeah.
election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear, where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts.
The vice president?
So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries.
Why did
But
she do
frankly,
that before?
the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize.
He never said that. Are they going to fact check anything she says?
Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsey?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
Look, they don't even let him talk.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsey?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you
unbiased,
to ban fracking.
You're so biased.
Now you don't.
Yeah,
You
so biased.
wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking, because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking.
Which is the reason our inflation is so high.
In diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with
we
the
know what you did to get where you are. You did something else.
Increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather.
Because she's taught to just go to emotion every time. She's taught when they ask this, you just go to this. Spin it to this story.
In the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down. And name calling.
Talking points.
The true measure of the leader
Talking points.
is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your response?
First of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing so important, in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting
Keystone
rid of it.
Pipeline,
and
where
the
was that?
prices were
Pennsylvania.
going up the roof. They
Keystone.
immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that
for
we
the
have to get
environment,
to.
as she
We're out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsey, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president.
Here we go.
J6.
January 6th.
Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw
What
it play
about,
out at the Capitol
go
that day,
peacefully?
the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
No, they're not.
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
Re-ask the question.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington,
There you go.
D.C.
Tell them.
And the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
Yo, this is crazy.
I was at the Capitol on
They
January
only
6th. I was
Look,
the
have her
vice
teed up.
president-elect. I was also an acting
have
senator.
her
I was
teed up.
there. And on that day,
She's been rehearsing
the
all of
president
this
the
for
United
over a
States
week.
incited a
She's
violent
been
mob
rehearsing all of this for over a week.
to attack our nation's capital,
They probably told her everything they were
to
gonna
desecrate
ask
our
before
nation's capital.
she
On
could
that day,
plan.
140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
No
And
one
understand-
did. Wait,
No
what?
one died from
That's
that.
a lie.
President has been
Are they going to
indicted
fact check
They're
her
not
on
going to
that?
fact check her.
for exactly
Yo, that is a
reason.
lie.
They're
Are
not
they-
gonna
But
fact
this
check
is
her.
not
Yo,
an
it's
isolated
crazy.
situation.
Crazy.
Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of
They
people
brought
carrying
back
tiki torches,
Charlottesville.
spewing anti-Semitic hate.
And
what
he
did
said
the president
there was
then
very.
at the time
Yo,
say?
are they going to correct
There
her?
were fine people on each side.
They're not going to
Let's
fact check
remember
that.
That when it came to the Proud Boys,
He
a
needs to
militia,
say something. Are you going to fact check her?
Yeah.
The former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back.
That's
We're
her.
not
That's
going
her
back.
new campaign
it's time to
slogan.
Turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you.
Oh
to
my
stand
gosh. Yo, this
for
is
country,
this is stupid.
to
This
stand
is all for
our
women, bro.
democracy, to
This is
stand
all for
rule
women.
of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath.
Oh my God! Are they gonna fact check any of this?
Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back.
He's laughing at us.
Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
No, they don't let him talk.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up.
And you're
I
not
ask you this. You
fact-checking
talk
her.
about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years,
They didn't correct nothing that she said. They didn't fact check nothing she said.
Claim that you won,
and it's all
many
been
times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
That.
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it.
Don't fall into
and
this
they should have
trap,
sent
Trump.
it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most
She's
votes
got
any
it.
sitting
Yo,
president
she's prepared
has
for
ever
all of
gotten.
these.
I was
They
told
gave her
I
all
got
these
63,
questions.
which is what I got in
They
2016.
gave her all these
You can't be
questions.
beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about
She's
an
going
election
to
as
go into
fraudulent.
an
We need two
emotion
things.
of
We need
democracy
walls,
and
we
election
need-
denial.
And we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it.
Oh, my. Yo,
We should just
correcting
point out there is
everything he
clarification, and
says.
you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No
Republican.
judge looked at it.
And said
They
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania. and I'll show-
Arizona.
We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
What?
Man, this is
Yo, this is crazy.
Everybody's going to see this is
So let's
dumb.
be
This
clear
is
about that.
crazy.
And clearly, he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military
She
leaders,
hasn't been
some of whom
nowhere.
work with you,
She
and they
was-
say you're a disgrace.
Yo,
And
she
when you
hasn't
then
done
talk
nothing.
in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact.
Yo,
That's deeply
they
troubling,
teed
and the
her up
American
for all
people
of this.
deserve better.
I can't even
I'll
watch
give you 1
this.
minute to
This is
respond.
Let me just say about
Like-
world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0
try to
votes.
cut him off.
And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I
up.
think we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you
it's
said,
not that much
quote,
longer to
Israel has
go.
a right to defend itself, but you added, quote,
It's only a couple
"It
more
matters
minutes
how,"
left.
saying international humanitarian law must
Yeah, it's
be
very
respected.
biased,
Israel
but this is
must
to be
do more
expected,
protect
though.
innocent
It's on ABC.
civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians
Because this is
are
what they
dead.
agreed
Nearly
to. They wouldn't
100
agree to
hostages
somewhere that's going to be
remain. Just last
non-biased.
week, Prime
She
Minister
would
Benjamin
not agree to
Netanyahu said
that. She
there's not a
wouldn't
deal in the
fight him
making.
in a fair
President
fight.
Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here.
Every question they
October
framed to her
7th,
is just
Hamas,
tell us about what
a
you're going to do.
terrorist
Every question to him is defend yourself on this.
slaughtered 1,200 Israelis.
Yep.
Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so, absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock.
What does that
also
mean? Work
understanding
around
that
the
we
clock
must
on
chart a
ceasefire
course
and
for a
what does that
two-state
mean?
solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians
They refunded
have
Iran
security,
under their regime.
self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror, and they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant.
President Biden
It is
was the
well known he
dictator.
exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats
Can
are
y'all
rooting
fact check her, please?
for you
They're
to
not
be
going to,
president
bro.
again
Can
because
y'all-
they're so clear.
It's so
they can manipulate
evident.
you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approved the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe, because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution
We're not
Center
going to fact check
in Philadelphia.
Kamala at all.
We have a lot to attack Trump on and softball tee up Kamala for. A lot to get to, guys.
The ABC. It's so.
Yo, this is so biased.
She hasn't answered one thing about immigration.
Yeah, because she can't. Because she can't.
She can't. The people that, you know, that he's, what was the word she was using against Trump? The people like, don't vote for him because he's, you know, dictator.
Yeah, he said he's going to be a dictator on day one. Like all these things, like, come on, man. And the thing is, they're not checking her on anything she's saying. It's hilarious.
Bloodbath, Charlottesville, bringing up the same stuff, and y'all not.
No one's gonna say, well,
y'all know the truth.
They could have easily said Snopes has already debunked that story, because even Snopes has, who is already biased, has come out and said that that's not a true story.
But Trump said it. You know, they debunked that.
Yeah, but I'm saying they need to. They're fact checking him all the time, but they're not fact checking her.
Of course, they wanted it be for her. They want her.
Let's see what
Pretty well.
other commentators
He's
are
getting
talking
into
about.
it. It's a weak spot for him.
Yeah.
Regular people are sitting there confused, and they're tuning out. They're saying, I don't know what this is or what he's talking about or why it matters. So when he flips and says, it's old news, we need to focus, sounds like someone gave him good advice, and he remembered and he jumped in. But gentlemen, would you like to introduce yourselves for the commercial?
Okay, I'm Dan Bishop, North Carolina, running for Attorney General there instead of for re-election to Congress, but glad to be with you guys tonight.
AG is a big deal.
It is. Great.
Right. Eli Crane, freshman member from Arizona.
Let's see.
Right on.
Why did you choose to run for AG over
Let's
re-election?
see what Breaking Points is talking about.
This is so. I mean, when I say, well, you guys seen it's so.
It's pretty
biased.
bad.
Ricks
It's pretty
gives
bad.
you the freedom to tell your story.
It's kind of good. People are gonna see how they're trying to frame it for her.
They're doing a whole break. Are they talking? What is this?
And unfortunately, in the Republican Party, if you look at some of the other crosstab polling, the people who are much more restrictive on. Yeah.
Solving problems.
And then there's nothing left for him to run on because all the problems are solved.
We've just had great leadership over the last decade, so Kamala Harris as well.
Interesting. What else have we got here?
Okay.
Oh, do you think the assassination attempt will come out from Groucho Marx?
Yes. I don't know. I guess they don't have much going on there. Let's see what else. Who else is live? Let's look at PBD. Are they live right now? Should be live. Yeah.
Earth. And you're going to use every trick, every line, every talking point that you possibly can. I've been sort of scoring this like a boxing match. I have Trump on the different topics. They went economy, tariffs, abortion, immigration, fracking, January 6th, 2020 election, and Israel, Gaza. I have Trump up 6-2 right now. Of course, she's winning on abortion. This is all they got, y'all.
And this is
abortion.
Adam is the anti-Trump
If
guy on PBD.
comes down to abortion is the number one
So
issue.
he's seeing it as Trump is
Welcome to the
washing her right
President of the
now.
United States, Kamala Harris.
It's just so frustrating to see how biased they're being. Like,
Obviously, like Tom said, she's had
in favor of everything.
And memorized all the talking points. I wouldn't be shocked if she knew ahead.
Yeah, but
going on. He's
you got to be able to deal with that.
I know.
He's not debating one person. He's debating them. I hope the people aren't dumb enough. But Pat, you know this. What she's saying, the bloodbath.
That's a great point. He's debating all of them.
People at home.
And he should say that. He should say, wow, I feel like I'm debating three people.
The awake people, they're like, wow, he said this, he said that. I still don't think it's enough to get the average person to flip on Trump. I still think he's kicking butt.
Well, it's interesting to see that pretty much the entire line of questioning is all favoring Kamala, right? But I will give them credit for the one point where they asked her about flip-flopping on some of her policies.
Yep.
At least they did that. But were you guys satisfied with that response?
No, she didn't
Personally, I
answer
feel
it at all.
unburdened by what is
She didn't
being-
answer
I don't know about the rest of you. I definitely don't feel like I'm burdened by
It's
what
all
is
an
being-
emotional
I think she's
thing
doing,
for her.
you know, like Tom said, better than most of us expected.
You could tell
Obviously,
she's
sort of
leaning
word
on
salad,
like
but when you look
getting
into the
people
substance
emotional,
of what's being said, Donald
pulling
Trump
on
is
heartstrings.
winning by
Reeling them in with the
How do you got it
emotion.
scored right now?
What about you? Oh no, I'm breaking down my tweet. You know, every time there's debates, I write a long ass tweet that's going to go out. Yeah, I mean, I'm watching his highlights, her highlights. She did the abortion thing so eloquently.
Yeah.
She was so good. She looked at the camera. She looked at him. If you guys notice, this is where Trump's looking. Not one time has she gone like
Yeah,
this.
he's not looking at her.
This is how she is the entire time.
Yeah.
He's like this.
I noticed that too.
Basic, one most basic things to be thinking about for those that, does anybody get headaches when you hear weird voices? Who gets headaches? I swear to God, if we have to listen to that voice for 4 years of her speaking the way she speaks, like she's lecturing you the entire time. You know how you have an aunt or somebody you date that's just lecturing you?
Yeah.
And you're at dinner, and in your mind, like she's lecturing, you're like, dude, I mean, I've been done with you for 2 minutes. I'm just waiting to get the hell out of here. I have to have a little bit of fun, and we are done. You want me to listen
That's
to
how
this
we're all
before
feeling
you-
right
That's
now.
how I
That
feel,
voice,
man. That sound,
Can't.
somebody
Can't.
talking like that? It's
'Cause
tough.
it's all funny.
But,
Yeah.
However, Trump is not as agitated as I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to
making
be
faces,
more when
though.
they try to.
He is a little
lot.
agitated.
So we'll see what's going to happen. What do we have left, Rob? 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Is this the end of it where they say, what do you like most about Trump and what do you like most about Kamala?
What?
From commercial break.
Let's get started. Let's go
Okay,
and go to
let's
it.
check it back. Okay, they're back.
Constitution Center in
That
Philadelphia,
either you pay up or we're not going
Hold
to
on.
protect you anymore. So that's
David
maybe
Muir.
one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here...
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question,
Yeah,
do you believe it's in the U.S. best interests for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S.
Look,
best
look,
interest
look,
to get
they-
this war finished and just get it done.
They
Negotiate
always
a deal,
do that.
because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
I was waiting for her to say that.
I believe the
But
reason
you're in
that Donald
the-
Trump
you're in
says that
there.
this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity.
You just
And I
said
met
Russia
with
is a
President
big country,
Zelensky. I
Ukraine's a
shared
little
with him
country.
American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania.
Does anyone really
through
believe
the
that she
work
told
I
someone
and
how to
others
defend
did,
their
we
country?
brought 50 countries
Kamala.
together to support Ukraine in its righteous
don't.
defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda.
Then how come it didn't happen when he was president? He was already president.
Why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known.
That's what he needs to say. Like, yo, I was already president.
To preserve
how come he didn't do it then?
The ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight.
They're not going to let him respond to that?
Hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier.
What?
Please,
what?
I'll give you a minute here.
That's not right.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strong men instead of caring about democracy.
Yeah.
And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief. And the American people have a right to rely.
He should have just said, yo, there was no wars under me.
Understands the significance
he didn't invade during me. He invaded during them. That tells you everything you need to know.
Ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan.
See how they frame this. See how they frame this.
Do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless
what?
war.
How much did we pay to Ukraine?
There is not one
What?
member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military.
Oh, God, here we go with this fake story again.
And the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it.
You see how they asked the Afghanistan question to put him on the defensive instead of asking what happened, why did they botch this so bad?
It's all framing. Withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known
America's
as black.
got to, come on, America. You got to see.
Tonight.
You got to see.
He's got to call him out, too. On the racial identity of your opponent.
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
Why would they even bring that up?
Because they're trying to get him.
I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people.
What?
You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated
she's fumbling.
because he refused to rent property to black families.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Let's remember, this is the
That's
same
a lot.
individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5.
He's the one that put black people in jail.
Took out a full-page ad.
I hope he calls her out on that.
This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States.
That's where
And I
he
think
lost
the
black
American
people.
want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor.
Now, here you go,
We
trying
don't
to be
want a
that
leader who is
emotional.
constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other.
She's pandering
I
to
meet with
women,
people all the
boy.
time who tell me, can we please just
Are y'all
have
watching this in the
discourse
chat?
about
Please.
how we're going to invest in the aspirations and
Jake
the
asked does
ambitions
she
and
have
the
an
dreams
earpiece
of the
in.
American people. Knowing that regardless
It's hard to tell,
of people's
but she's
color
definitely
or
taking
the
notes.
language their grandmother speaks, we
And if
all
you've been watching,
have the
Jake,
same
let me know
dreams
if
and
you see the
aspirations
bias
and want
of
a
this.
president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsey?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
How about him?
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now.
Bless
I
you.
built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to
Talk
be
about what
bigger,
you did
better,
for
and
black
stronger.
people. Talk about how she
But they're
talked
destroying
about.
our economy.
He's got to
They
bring
have
up how
no
she
idea
said
what
she
a good
will never do
economy
nothing
is.
for black
Their
people,
oil policies,
and
every
how he
single
did more for
policy.
black people
And
than she
remember
would
this,
ever do.
She is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had. A horrible economy
Yo,
because inflation
bring
has
up
made
her
it so
record with
bad.
black people,
She
bro.
can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up, Lindsey.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to respond
Briefly.
briefly.
She's got something
Clearly,
prepared.
I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism
Unburdened by what
about
has been.
what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan.
What's your plan?
To give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan.
What's your plan for black people? He should, he should hit her with that, man. He should hit her.
To help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream.
He
by
dropped the
offering
ball with that. He should have hit her
help
with
with
the
down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name calling.
Who is he belittling?
Let's turn the page.
Vice President Harris.
Their administration.
Let's turn back
We
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
No, look, he's not letting
To defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay,
That's
you,
what her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsey,
to
go ahead.
respond because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump.
president has
No,
said
I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to respond
No,
to.
I'm sorry. We're going to move on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this is
multiple
now
times.
your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good
James
today.
can attest to that.
And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it, and we're going to replace it. But remember this. I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones, too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan.
Didn't he just say
I'm
that?
not president right now.
Don't ask her
But
those
if
things.
we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are
And then they're going to
concepts
say,
and
what's your
options
plan? And she's going to have something laid out
do
that they just
And
gave
you'll be
her while
hearing
she's been
about
in
it
this
in the
debate prep the whole
not-too-distant
time.
future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private health care options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsey. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being
Y'all have disparaged for years.
At the time, because
remember when he was running against Obama? Y'all forgot about that.
The late great John McCain, I will never forget.
Now
that
he's
night.
late and great.
Walked onto the Senate floor and said, "No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan." And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes?
This is what
And
she's doing the
thankfully,
whole time.
As I've been vice president, and we, over the last 4 years, have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it,
Vice
past his
President
prologue
Harris, thank
in terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot
She made
of...
a mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go.
Jake said this was really a setup. Wow.
Deal with this issue.
Yeah.
The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening.
So are you part of this administration or not?
Because
sometimes she says it's not her, it's Biden, and sometimes it's her.
I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto
Even though
plants,
she's talking a
not
lot
closing them
and
like
doing
happened
all
under
this,
Donald
like
Trump.
something about her doesn't
That didn't
still
happen under
feel
Donald
like a
Trump. Let me just
leader
tell you,
or
they lost
presidential at all.
10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place.
It's going to be a bloodbath.
What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a
Wow. Wow,
See,
dude.
This is messed up because they should have him and then somebody else from like Fox News or somebody else.
But they would refuse. Remember, she refused to do another debate. They're supposed to do another debate. They're supposed to do 2 other debates because usually there's 3 presidential debates.
Yeah, I remember.
But she's only agreeing to this one because she knew it was going to be on ABC.
She knew they were going to get her up to date on everything.
They were going to,
she was going to have the answers for everything.
Yeah.
But the thing is, people are going to see through this because we all see through it.
Yeah.
They're going to see through all this.
Are they though?
Some people are. I think those that are already, we're never going to vote for Trump, or already we're going to vote for Kamala. They're seeing this as she's destroying. You know, she looks so great. She's you know,
Envy's going to be like, she smoked them.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's the Trump loyalists that are going to say, like, you know, he didn't make any mistakes, but I think he made a huge mistake by not mentioning that when they talked about the race issue, he should have said. She said out of her own mouth that she's not going to do anything specifically for the black community. I did this, and that for the black community. Yeah, so how am I the one who's divisive? How am I the one who doesn't care about how are you trying to paint me as a racist when I'm the one who did all these things for the black community? She said she's not going to do anything for the black community.
And everything she's describing.
And her record. Her record as a prosecutor. Bring all that up. He should have brought all that up.
I don't know why he didn't.
Yeah.
Just don't get it. Like, he should have brought. And how about when she was senator? She put all those black people in jail, and she did a lot of stuff against black people.
That's not when she was a mom. That's what I said, when she was a prosecutor. Not a senator. Yeah. Let's check some other commentaries. Let's go
What
back
do
to
you
PVD.
want? I want you to stop ordering so many True Classic teas.
These are the only. I feel like I'm being lectured by my aunt.
Everybody's saying the same
I
thing.
do not feel warmth. I do not feel leadership.
She's trying to portray warmth, but it's not coming across. She's just not likable.
The way she was coached for this moment. But I'm not feeling leadership saying I trust
Yeah.
that leader
No, that's
to
what I
negotiate
said.
around the world.
Yeah.
I don't trust that leader to go negotiate with Congress. That's not what I'm feeling. And once again, he's getting poked at him, and he is staying short of full fury. And I think he's doing a very good job, responding and reminding us what the truth of what was happening.
Because he can get really mad.
I think they're trying to bait him into getting mad, and so it can look like he's attacking a woman, make him look like some kind of misogynist.
He's trying to stay reserved.
Yeah,
70-30 to have Trump ahead. I don't care about the American people, left or the right. MAGA's not changing, and the progressive left's not changing. The independents, 70-30, they were Trump right now.
Okay.
So independents are 70-30 with Trump right now.
Not the men.
They're not. No, what I'm saying
they're
is
not doing it. Just the women.
But what I'm saying is, do you think that that's shifting at all, or are any of those women going to vote for Trump?
What are you asking?
I'm at, like, from tonight, from listening to what.
Yeah, where are you going? What are you thinking?
Abortion is up. I don't know. I'm just thinking. I just feel like the way that she's performing right now.
No.
Everybody tomorrow, from the Bill Maher's and they're gonna put her on a pedestal and make her seem like she's the second coming. She's gonna be the savior. I'm telling you right now. I'm getting messages right now like, oh my God, our boy's not doing good. Oh my God, he's failing. Like, I got 4 messages in a row saying that Trump is losing the debate.
Okay, Adam.
Really?
I'm dead serious. I just got another one.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm getting a text. That
I don't.
I think there's only one time that Trump kind of lost his cool, and that's what I was sort of saying. Can Trump just keep it cool, bro? You saw with Biden. I mean, Biden is literally.
This isn't the same fight, though. There's two different fighting styles make fights.
Yes.
This is a different style of a fight.
It's a totally different style of fight. He can't.
The other one, you don't have to do anything. The other one, the guy was knocked. It's like Tyson fight, 6 seconds, it was over with. This is going. She's going 9th round, 10th round, 11th round. It's going. There is no knockout yet.
Right. He's not going to knock her out. She's doing okay. This thing's coming back right here. There was only one time he lost his cool when he's like, you're going to take the guns and you're going to, all that kind of stuff like that. You even were like, oh, chill out, bro. She's a
videos of her saying that a buyback
opponent, but she's not a viable candidate, if that makes
Just like
sense.
there was videos of her talking about giving illegal immigrants sex change surgeries. She brought that up.
I get it. This is what the Democratic Party is at this point. And she could beat
that
Trump.
And trans.
Let's see.
Trans prison people in prison.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem like the kind of person who does, unless you think she did. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just interested because when she talks about, growing up in, impoverished conditions, and then you see her house growing up, it's just like.
Let's go back.
Very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward.
That's her whole thing.
But we're not going
We're not
back.
going back.
And I do believe that the American
they don't understand that
people know
going
we
back
all
means
have so much
to the
more in
economy that
common
was
than what
good
separates
before
us.
y'all was
and
in power.
We can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why
She just
I
released her
intend to
plan 2
create
days ago
an
on
opportunity
her website.
economy.
Yeah, and it's
investing
very
in
minimal,
small
like he said.
businesses,
Like it's
in
very
new
minimal.
families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together. That is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay?
Oh my gosh.
And that's the kind of president
Yo,
we need right now.
is-
Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for
She's
all
always
Americans
put herself first.
and focus on what we can
She
do
is
over the next 10
it's
and
the quintessential
20
I'll
years
do whatever
to
needs to
build
be
back
said
up
to
our
win.
country by investing right now in you, the
Did you
American
ask
people.
Vice
Mrs.
President
Brown?
Harris, thank you. President Trump.
Mrs. Willie Brown, if she
So
was
she
okay?
just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughing. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsey Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us.
Bro,
here at ABC
the
News.
most
The worst.
biased thing I have ever seen, bro. That was probably one of the worst debates I've ever seen.
Probably.
As far as like how biased they were on one side. Like even the Joe Biden. This is why I always kept saying like something was fishy about the Biden debate. Because they were being so neutral.
Yeah.
Like they weren't fact checking anybody. They were like people were complaining about the fact that they didn't fact check. You know,
they wanted
Biden to look bad.
But I'm so glad at the end what he said. For 3.5 years, what have you done?
Why haven't you done it?
Why
Yeah.
didn't you do it?
Yeah.
So now
He should have focused more on her record.
Yeah, he should have. He should have.
Focusing on her record.
Should have focused on her, not flip flopping and not. They put him on the defensive too much. He should have just like shrugged all that off and just kept hammering on what she's done, how she's flip flopped. She doesn't know what she's doing. You know what I mean? Like he kept defending himself on things, and they were teeing her up for that. They were teeing her up to attack him.
That's what those notes is for.
Yeah.
If he says this, go here.
You go here.
If he says this,
yep.
go there.
And she's scratching this out and going there,
like,
and
okay,
she's
cool.
she's writing things down, remembering. She's been coached. She's been. They said she was hiding for a whole week and a half, going over debate prep. Just this is what you're gonna say. This is what you're gonna say. Memorizing things. Memorizing.
Turn this off.
Huh?
I can't take this off.
Oh no, you're good, Mom. Leave it.
Yeah.
I want to go back and see some more
She did better
commentary.
than I
from
thought
other
she was going to do.
That's because
she didn't
they
stumble.
prepped her. They went over
They
all
prepped.
the questions.
She probably had the questions, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way they did this.
Or they said because they know what they're going to ask about. They know they're going to ask about the border. They know they're going to ask about abortion. They know they're going to ask about, healthcare. They know they're going to ask about Afghanistan. They know that these are the topics that are going to be brought up. January 6th. So they have talking points for each one of those things, and they just hammer it, and see, make sure she's good. Let's see what they're talking about on Breaking Points. Let's see how they're commenting on what just happened.
Her seriously, and it showed. He took the bait on every whether it was his rallies or his indictments or even the Central Park.
This is what we were just saying.
Net worth
he
that
kept taking the bait
from his dad. He was chasing after every single ball that she was throwing.
Yeah, let me pick up on that because I think this is a really key point, and it's one where I can see amongst our right-wing audience, the ones that remain and others, is there's a tremendous amount of outrage about the moderators and about ABC. And I think we'll talk about this, about how the fact that these moderators did interject multiple times to quote-unquote fact-check Trump. Many of the questions were, frankly, ridiculous in my opinion. Like, Kamala, have you ever met with Putin? It was like, come on, what are we doing here? Okay, let's put that aside. Complaining about moderators is cope when your candidate also you had multiple opportunities where you took the bait, where you whiffed on the best answers, where Kamala, what I want to pick up on from what you said, was totally in control. Every single time it was her worst issue, she puts a little bit of bait in there that Trump is going to pick up on, and he runs with it. The border section was infuriating to me, watching and waiting. This is the part where Trump is leading against Harris as much as Harris is leading Trump on abortion. And I haven't even mentioned Trump's disastrous abortion performance.
Yeah, we got that coming too.
We will have that coming as well. But actually, that's a perfect example when I put them side by side. On the abortion one, Trump is all over the place, giving the worst answers humanly possible. All the stuff that she's tried to do previously, none of it has worked. He doesn't try and bait Kamala or move the direction. Kamala brings up a border. The very first border question, she starts talking about his rally size. Now we're litigating rallies during the damn border section, and then during every single other one, which was very good for very good for Trump. Any issue area, Kamala lays as much bait in there as possible, and Trump takes it and he takes it and he whiffs it. He validates every concern that she drops of he only cares about himself by litigating his rally size instead of talking about the border, and litigating his inheritance instead of talking about, well, I don't even remember what that section was.
I think that might have been about her flip-flopping.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're right. That's what it was. It was about fracking and flip-flopping.
This is exactly what we were just saying. Like, they prepped her to just keep throwing little bait out there and get him to take the bait, get him to continue to defend himself.
Focused.
Yeah, because he kept being worried about defending himself and saying,
I forget that. Focus on her record.
Focus on her. Talk about what she's been doing wrong. You know, I think he dropped the ball on a lot of that stuff, especially when it came to the race thing. Like I said, he could have easily brought up what he did for the black community and, you know, what she has said out of her own mouth. You know, these clips have gone viral. If he had the team working with him and telling him, like, these are the things, because her team, guarantee you, was hammering.
I'm telling you, this is what I said earlier. She has notes.
Yeah, either notes or an earpiece, you know.
And I believe that those notes are not notes on the debate. It's talking.
Yeah.
It's like, if he says this, go here.
Or if they ask you this, throw all of these things in there to deflect it and put it on him to defend himself.
They're already on your side, so you don't have to worry about it.
Right, exactly.
So you could just focus on these talking points.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
She wasn't asked anything other than that.
Yeah. Well, how do you guys feel it went? You guys think...
I think that, you know, the people who are going to vote for her are going to vote for her. But I think that people are going to see how it was so biased, how they hardly let Trump talk. When he did, they kind of cut him off. They tried to cut him off. He had to say, I want to talk. You know, it was just horrible.
Right. Well, let's look at it from this point. This isn't about necessarily her winning. This is about making her look presidential.
Yeah.
This is about making her look like a leader. That was the goal for them. They're not, her policies didn't come out 2 days ago.
Switch the camera, Mom.
This was about making her look way better than what Joe looked like. Joe looked so terrible. Let's make her look like a leader. Let's make her look presidential. That's really what this was about. And we're gonna set her up the anchors, the news anchor, ABC, were going to set her up to make her look like a leader. Because this is the first time she's actually looked a lot. She's giggling and rambling like she normally would. She was severely prepped.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he did fall for.
And she had the moderators on her side. They were going to fact check him
she
the
had
whole
no
time.
pressure. She had no pressure.
Yeah.
But to hit these target points.
Look at this. People on Twitter are posting like a lot of the things that they didn't fact check her about. Under Governor Tim Walz, babies were born alive and botched abortions were left to die, then removed. Reports.
But that's why he knows already. They're gonna talk about abortion. They're gonna talk about the border. They're gonna talk about inflation.
Mm-hmm.
He should have those things ready in the chamber to go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yep.
Like focus on that.
Yeah.
And I think this was their goal. The goal here was not so much to make her win, like she beat him down, was to make her look presidential.
Right.
Make her look like she could go up against him.
Yeah.
Because clearly, when you look at Joe looks so bad. You know what I mean?
Do you think she looked presidential though?
I don't, but I'm saying she looked better than what she
has been.
She seems,
She quelched the fears of people that she can't do nothing but cackle and
right.
But she has to be she has to be extremely prepped though. You can tell because.
But it's ABC that she didn't want to do anything else unless it was them. They prepped her. She knew what she was going to say.
Yeah.
She knew the questions. So of course.
The whole thing was a setup because they canceled the whole Fox thing and they weren't going to do anything else. And
his team needs to focus on you don't have to chase every little ball.
Well, that's over now. There's no more debates.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
She didn't agree to no more. She won't do any more debates. Because you think they could do this 3 more times or 2 more times?
And then
And then on other platforms that she has to, because if there was going to be another one, it would have to be. He was trying to get one on Fox. She denied that one. She wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was supposed to be one more. But
it's 3. Yeah.
She turned down the Fox one.
It's definitely like they're gonna say it's an excuse about the news anchors being biased.
Yeah.
But dude, like they really didn't fact check her on anything.
They were fact checking him.
Yeah, I know that we're gonna see some stuff.
But his team should know that he's going in enemy's territory.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like you know that.
Look at this, people. This is why you need Twitter because people are posting up. This is Tim Walz signing a bill in January 2023 to allow abortion up until the moment of birth.
Right, and she kept saying that's not true.
And the moderators jumped in and corrected.
See, but that's what
and said,
he should be like, it's on Twitter, it's on X. Go look at the American people.
Yeah,
like
he. It's a lot of
people are gonna bring it up no matter what. Like Jamie said.
No, I'm saying, but this is where his team should prep him to be like, hey, this is her record. This is what's going on. Here's the sources.
Yep.
Buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It's got to be smart. We got to do it the right way.
What would you do about the millions of specifically assault weapons that are already in circulation? What do you do about those?
Well, there are approximately 5 million, to your point, Craig. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It's got to be smart. We got to do it the right way.
This is 2020.
Are you gonna, give your gun that you say that you have?
Yeah, she's a proud gun owner.
That's just a talking
point. I don't believe she's a gun owner.
Me either.
Or Tim Walz.
She can't scare off.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it, man. Let's wrap it up there. I hope you guys enjoyed that live stream, the commentary, along with this very biased debate performance that we saw there. I think Trump definitely took the bait too much and dropped the ball in a lot of places. I think Kamala did perform better than people expected. So, it's going to be very divided. I don't think it's going to sway anyone's vote in any way, but I do think that, she was prepared. She definitely was prepared. And I think that, you're going to see the commentary completely divided. People on the left are going to say she won and people on the right are going to say he won. And it is what it is. I just see it as it was very biased, and he fell for every trap. I think he made some mistakes, and I would have hoped that he would have did better than that. But it is what it is. the people will vote in November, and hopefully they didn't fall for any of that nonsense, because that was all lies and nonsense.
The people will vote, but I hope the illegal aliens won't vote.
Well, there's nothing we can do. This is why we gotta whatever happens.
Some of them gonna vote.
Whatever happens, we put our faith and trust in God, no matter what. It is going to be a sad day if this country continues to head down the road it's down right now, because everybody knows the state of this economy and everything we've been dealing with. But if you guys want to support this channel, make sure you go on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/YoungLionTV, where you can become a member, sign up, hit us on the Patreon, subscribe over there. For as little as $3 a month, you can become a Young Lion and help support so we can spread the pride out around the world and get this thing out in the world. I appreciate everybody who's been watching. Also, if you want to get the merch, head on over to our shop on our band's page. Our band is Jatan, Jutaun, Jatan.com/shop, where we have all of our merch for Young Lion, and all of our Jatan merch is over there. Our music and everything is on there as well. We got some shows coming up that we will be talking about soon, a couple in October, and then the beginning of next year that we are preparing for. So, again, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate these guys for being here tonight so we could watch that debate live and have some commentary. Had a good time. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Young Lion, go live, yeah. Young Lion, you rich, yeah. This kingdom has room, yeah. Go and fight people.